Hello. Hi. Ooh, we got some good light today. Am I invited? Somebody let me know. Let's turn this water bottle. I wish that I could. I want the message there. Let's put it like this and adjust things. There you go. Be good to yourself. A message from Theo Vaughn. Also, let's go. Do not disturb. Gotta remember to do that every Tuesday. Hey, Rachel, are you inviting me to the party? Thank you. I have missed you. I've not been good about keeping up with my friends lately, and I'm so sorry. This move has been. Hi, Kiara. I don't know that I've seen you much around here. You new? Yes. Ooh, we're gonna suck you in. Welcome. I see that Rosie's here. Shelby, Logan. Oh, I love you guys so much. I am totally honest with you. A couple of things like slash stressed about going into this topic, and I might get stressed. I'll probably get stressed out. Well, welcome, Kiara. I don't know how you ended up here, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're new and we love new people. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody be nice to Kiara. Of course, I don't have to tell you guys to be. You just will be. Um, oh, Kiara, you're new. Just so you know, I'm all over the place all the time. I cannot manage a linear path down a conversation. So while I'm about to tell you guys a couple of things off the top of my head, I also have to tell you that this is not work. Like, this is not good. I'm going to change all of this eventually when I have time. So, yeah, whole topic. It was I think I've mentioned a couple of times that the whole like house purchase process that didn't end up working out was probably the hardest thing that Jake and I had to do together. And we've been together for over 4 years. So, like, it's something that I want to talk about, something I want to tell you guys about. It's something I'm going to like divulge a lot of personal information with. But also, before I get into the Christelle says, "Hi, Leisha and everyone. About to pop on a call with my bestie. Just wanted to say hi here and send some good vibes." Christelle, I haven't seen you much around either. Are you newish too? Right before, so like what I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I've talked to my boss about this. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to structure my schedule as such so that I can kick out at 5:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays." And he's like, "Whatever works for you, that's fine." So at like 5:23, 5:24, I get a message from him that goes, "Yay!" And I was like, "Yay" usually means I need to check my email. There's good news. And as a recruiter, you might understand that. But I got good news. And it was like 5:24. And so in my industry, usually good news is followed by an action item required from me. So I was like, okay, let's get on this. And then as I'm like finishing up doing that, my boss is like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "No way! Did it happen again?" And so I got good news times two. They weren't like job offers. Like I'm a recruiter and a marketer. Like I don't need to be secretive with you guys about what happened. Two of my candidates got interviews. It's awesome. It's awesome when a candidate gets an interview. It's more awesome when a candidate gets a job offer. But I love my job in that regard. I get to be most of the time just like the bearer of good news. So occasionally the bearer of bad news, but oftentimes bearer of good news. So it's fun to get to tell people good things. So so that's what. So I was like running in here at the last minute. Almost was late. Also, when Jake walked in, because he showed up around that time that I was like doing all that stuff, he walked in and I was like, "I am so full of macaroni, cheese, and fluids." So I don't know how much of this water I can drink during this process because I ate and drank drinks, not alcoholic drinks, obviously, but you've been here sometimes, but just a lurker, says Christelle. Well, I'm glad that you decided to speak up. It makes me happy. Kiara said, "I understand. I'm moving in 4 years. That's my plan. Sending you love." 4 years. Give yourself time. Yes. Yes. Especially the older you get, dude, you need more time, and that time is not something we had. I'm gonna tell you all about it. And thank you for the congrats. Mindy, you're on time. Yay. So the other fun news that you may or may not have known about, it's I posted on my community tab. But tonight at 7:30, so I need to make sure it's 7 o'clock. If I don't remember, if this stream goes over and I don't remember to set my premiere to public, somebody please remind me. But I'm publishing my first vlog today, and I'm so excited about it. Um, I told you, I've been telling you guys for a while that I'm making a shift in content, but with in conjunction with like this, I've been talking about this move, and it really has been a big deal in my life. Like it really has shaken everything up. It really has taken so much of my time. Back in the days when I in this within the same neighborhood, I really didn't go that far away, but it just didn't seem like that big a deal. But now that we're living in like what's essentially the belongings of essentially a three-bedroom household, like it's just so much. It's so much. So I've been a little slow on getting on that. But the vlog is today, premiering at 7:30. Side note, cute dress. Thank you. This is one that I think I'm going to keep around and wear on like a regular basis. Yay, at least B made it. People are showing up. Yay! If you didn't hear, I'm posting a vlog at 7:30 and two of my candidates got interviews today. So yay. It's been if you didn't know, it's been a very slow market for employers and recruiters. Um, it's great for anybody who's looking for a job. It's a candidate market, but response is really slow. Like the candidate market is very similar to the housing market. There are times of like super high demand, low supply, super high supply, low demand. So it's like the beginning of quarantine, everybody needed a job because people were losing their jobs due to COVID. And we had no jobs because our employers were not like, they were not in a position to start hiring at that time. And then now everybody's like adjusted, and all these employers have these open jobs, and partially because people have quit their jobs during COVID. They've decided to go back to being like full-time parents or go back to school or what for whatever reason. People have quit their jobs and people have settled into decent jobs with remote options and all that. So now we have all these jobs available and nobody really looking for a job. So, you said you have two jobs. Not sure what you mean by that. I have two jobs if you consider this one of my jobs. This was like when I was doing like gossip, YouTube gossip, which we'll get into. And at that time, like I was so on it all the time. I can't do that anymore. I really can't. I did it for like recording and editing videos and then also doing these lives and also doing things for Patreon. So much so that I considered it two full-time jobs at once, and I just can't do that anymore. Um, so we're taking it a little bit slower these days. Not really like doing it for any sort of income, really just doing it for the heck of it. And seeing where it goes from here. Seeing if I make a shift into something that makes me happy in terms of subjects, subject matter. So, yeah, we're going to start with that. I've got this vlog all done and ready to go this evening. I've got another one that should be a little bit more fun to work on. That should be coming in the next couple of weeks, I would say. I don't know. We'll see. So, um, it seems to be working fine now. Did somebody have it? Was somebody having an issue? It was freezing. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I need to set up the power line adapter up here that'll hopefully strengthen the Wi-Fi up here. So, Rachel, you need a job. Well, if you are skilled and have a background in marketing and UX, I'm your girl, but we really focus so much on UX roles. I do have like I'm working on a coach's way. This is working out. So I'm a marketer at heart. So, what I was going to do was talk to you guys very transparently about the process of purchasing a home, which obviously didn't work out for me and Jake, and why I just think it was a bad idea from the get go. I'm going to pull up an article. It's pretty brief, but I thought it was good for reference. So let me open it up. This is from Fortune, as in Fortune, the publication. And it's talking about this was written in February of this year. And it says new homeowners are getting rushed into, well, let me give you sorry, let me give you my background a little bit. So we moved to Savannah partially because of the apartment that I found. And so what I didn't consider was potentially that rents were low at the time that I was searching. So, in the may or may not watch after this, it shows on the thumbnail $2,500 a month. That's how much money, in full transparency, that's how much money my apartment cost per month. However, I think that same apartment, if it were being rented out, which I think it is being rented out, which makes me mad that we weren't like asked to be the tenant, whatever. That same apartment is probably going for would probably go for like 4,000, right? I don't know. It's kind of crazy because looking at trying to look for comparable apartments, um, we in like luxury buildings, we were looking at potentially spending around 3,400 a month and still having to downsize a little bit and not getting the like 15-foot ceilings that we had. So, but of course, that's not renting privately, but still like so when I rented the apartment, I probably inquired about it February or so of 2021. So I'm guessing the market was really in our favor. Saw this amazing, fantastic apartment, did a video tour of it, applied for it, and then we moved. Well, I moved first, and then Jake got his stuff together, and then he moved down. And it was amazing and fantastic in person. And as we were coming up on our lease options, I did voice some concerns because I've worked in property management. I know the drill. I know the game. And so when they were coming up on renewing our lease, I just wanted to express like, hey, by the way, there was like a shootout last week, and there was a misfire that hit the glass in the bank right below where Jake was sleeping. I don't know if I told you guys about that because it would have been doxing myself, but I do dox myself often. So, yeah, like that's also just the nature of living in the city. So you can live in a really nice place, but then crime rate's really high still. Um, but yeah, I remember one evening I was working on something and I heard what sounded like gunfire. And then I saw outside people running. And it turns out and then Logan alerted me to an app where I was able to listen to like police radios. So we could hear what was going on. But Jake had been napping. It was right around Christmas time, I remember, because we had their Christmas tree in the window. Jake was like napping on the couch. And then where they were shooting was like right outside, right on the other side of the wall from where we were, and there was a misfire that hit the bank underneath where our apartment was, and so that was like right underneath where Jake was napping. So that like shook us, and then we spent the rest of the night just listening to the police radio. So that happened, and I alerted them to that. I was like, "Well, before you renew our lease and, like, hike up our rent," that happened, and also in the same week, there was a fire in the building, and there was a mistake with the fire department. When there's a fire in a building, the fire department is obligated to turn off the power in the apartment that has a fire, so that, the sprinkler system and the electricity don't end up causing an issue. But by mistake, they shut off power in our apartment. And for 2 days, we were at that power. And the entirety of those 2 days, we were spending that time hounding the electric company, the fire department, the electric company, the fire department, our property management company, going all between all of these entities trying to get our power back on, and didn't get anything done until like 11 o'clock the second day, because I got the fire chief on the phone. So all of that happened like in the last week before they were asking about lease terms. And so I was like, just so you know, these things were going on. And they were like, oh, I wish you would have told me that those things were going on. I'm like, any other time anything has gone on, you've told me to talk to the property management and not to bother you about this stuff. And now all of a sudden you wish that I told you about these things? Okay. Um, I was thinking, the realtor who was working with the property management company that goes between me and the owners of the apartment was like, well, the best that we can maybe hope for is that they keep your rent the same. And I'm like, yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. And then they come back with, actually, they've decided to sell. So if you don't know, the real estate market in many places has been very much a seller's market here lately, and it seems that the owners of our apartment wanted to take advantage of that. So, you know, we panicked. First, we thought we had a year. At first, I read the year wrong. I was like, okay, we've got a year, we can do this. We can get ourselves in order and get prepared to buy a house, and we can try to buy this apartment. Um, and then I reread it and I was like, oh, no, wait, they're kicking us out in 2 months. In 2 months, we got to figure this out. Excuse me. Throat's a little dry. Still working outside of Google. Saying hello to Elise in the replay. No worries that you gotta go. Yeah, I would absolutely recommend starting to save, especially if you're planning on buying, because that's something that we hadn't really gotten a chance to do. And also, like our credit is not bad, but it's not great at the same time. Like my credit is like good, and his credit is like fair to good. But still, like when you go to buy, they want you to have like good to great credit. Um, so yeah, so where were we? Ooh, what is that? Has anybody heard of the Forbidden City in Beijing, China? Look at a bird's eye view of that. That looks gorgeous. Forbidden City in Beijing. I'm sorry, I have Google Chromecast on the TVs in my house, and I just love some of the photos. The Forbidden City in Beijing. I have a job and too many hobbies. Same girl. So where were we? Yeah, so Jake and I were initially thinking like, okay, if we can buy this place and not move, because Jake was like, I don't want to move. I was like, I don't want to move either. So maybe we can buy this place. Maybe it's within a ballpark, maybe it's within a range that we can afford. And really, we should have kept it to let's pursue a purchase if we can get this apartment. But instead, we took a referral for a realtor, and in working with him, he said, like, of course, he said what a realtor is supposed to say, like, we have to have some backup options just in case that doesn't work out. So, in full transparency, they ended up listing the apartment for $675,000, and that was above what we felt like we could cover. So we were looking more in the $500,000 range, and just the way the market is that like everything was selling, everything in the area was selling like within a week, over asking. So we just didn't think like, not in this market, we're not going to be able to talk them down. So we ended up shopping, which was not originally what we said we were going to do. So let's look at this article. So it says new homeowners are getting rushed into buying a home, and 75% of them feel they got a raw deal. The pandemic era housing market is pressuring home seekers into buying houses so fast to beat the competition. But those snap decisions are leaving new homeowners with major regrets. About 75% of recent homebuyers have regrets about their new homes, according to a new survey from Zillow. And the top regret is unplanned work or maintenance on the new properties. A frantic housing market with low inventory and sky-high prices is pushing many prospective buyers to make decisions more quickly than they are comfortable with. And many new home buyers are now saddled with homes that need more care than they had been prepared to give, both psychologically and financially. The pandemic-driven feeding frenzy in the for sale market added challenges for buyers, especially those purchasing for the first time, Zillow population scientist Manny Garcia said in a press release. This research suggests many of those buyers ended up in a home that was less than ideal. Zillow interviewed more than 2,000 people across the country, all of whom had either purchased a home in the last 2 years or are planning on doing so in the next 12 months. As for the regrets about the home buying experience itself, nearly three-quarters of homeowners said they should have spent more time searching and evaluating different options. The COVID pandemic has driven the real estate market through the roof. Home prices are at all-time highs, and the inventory of new homes listed is at an all-time low. And in the middle of a supply crunch, demand is rising fast as a large cohort of millennials begin to age into their prime home buying years. Hello, that's us. The combination of high demand and low supply is fueling some of the highest home prices in decades. The fierce competition means that people are scooping up houses as fast as they can find them, with homes selling on average 29 days faster than the pre pandemic pace. The intense pressure of today's housing market is taking its toll on home seekers. The Zillow survey found that buyer burnout is affecting 72% of prospective homebuyers today who feel the need to take periodic breaks from a numbing and disheartening process. Mortgage rates are expected to rise over the next few months as the Fed has signaled that it will raise interest rates in the spring, which will help cool down the hot housing market. However, supply chain snafus for resin and lumber are expected to keep inventory low. And because of inflation, home prices are likely to keep rising in 2022, albeit at a slower rate. So that's really validating, actually. So, oh, thank you, Rosie, for linking the article. Yeah, like the stream if you like the stream. Thank you, Shelby. Um, do I think real estate agents are just killing it right now? Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. I never really kept up with the market before. I was more, you ever just find cat nails on your furniture sometimes? Um, I was more clued into the rental market. I've always been. I worked in property management for 5 years, as I mentioned, and I just find it to be fascinating. And I lived in DC, and that was an area where, like, I loved living in, like, I don't want to say downtown DC, in DuPont Circle, DC, um, which I never imagined I would own there, but I'd be able to rent. But do I think they're killing? I feel like everything's just moving fast. I feel like they're probably earning their commissions very fast and probably very high commissions. So, so where were we in that process? We were now looking at backup properties. And this is because we had spoken to a mortgage lender that was a referral from the realtor, and got a pre-approval letter. So if you get a pre-approval letter, it might just mean bullshit in my experience. I mean, I ended up getting approved in a sense, or we did, Jake and I did. I initially tried to do it just everything under my name so that if we did want to get the housing tax break or whatever, on a second house, we'd be able to do that. Um, but yeah, I got the pre-approval letter, and like that gives you this like a sense of like, ooh, I have buying power. And so we'd like look at different properties, and I would ask my realtor like, okay, then what would our monthly look like on this? And he would like do his calculations and he'd be like 2,700 a month, something like that. And we'd be like, okay, yeah, we're coming from 2,500, yeah, and we'll have to set more aside because the upkeep of the home is going to be on us, but we can do that. We got this. So we like had this like false sense of like bravado in the housing market. And we found one house that was just like beautiful and perfect. Really great for like for like a small family, but it was still like really perfect for what we were looking for. And we put in an offer. And I think it was going for like 550. We put in an offer for like 565. And we didn't get it because things were going for so much more. So that broke my heart. And then we found another house. It was all new construction, pretty similar to this house, except that this house is historic and has, well, that had upstairs and downstairs outdoor space too, in a way. Um, Pretty similar to this house in terms of, no, it was very open concept on the lower floor. Anyway, similar in size and all that, but it was right next to the train tracks. But that house, we put in an offer 40,000 over asking. So we went from looking at houses in the 500Ks to putting in an offer at 590 and all the terms in their favor. And so they accepted our offer. And what's funny is that I was so not sure about this process. And there was a day that I was really freaking out and I was talking to my mom about it and my mom was freaking me out about it. And I was just saying, okay, like I'll call the realtor. I'll let him know it's off. We don't want to do this. 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 And then literally in that moment, got off the phone, realtor calls and says, great news. They accepted your offer. And I was just like, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know how to feel about this. And I talked to my friends who bought homes and they were like, you might not feel good about it right away. You might not feel good about it until like you're actually like in the house. Like, and so I was like, okay, maybe this is just how it goes. Um, and of course, the whole process, and I think this is regardless of whether you're in the pandemic or not, like the whole process is like up front, we need this documentation and this documentation and this documentation. And then you provide that documentation. And then the next day they're like, we need this and this as well. And then the next day you give them this and this as well. And then the next day they're like, hey, by the way, we need this document. And so you're like, okay, I'll produce you this document. And it's like for a month, it's like every day they need more and more documentation. And the way that Jake's complained about it, hello, random flower that fell. The way that Jake characterized it, he's like, it's like a drip feed of information in terms of like telling us what they need from them. So we, during this process, looked at another option too in terms of mortgage lenders. We went with the financial institution that we do our banking with, basically. And I don't want to talk trash on them because I love them as an institution, but my experience with them in terms of the house purchase process was bullshit. Um, yeah, so because my mom works there, not as a mortgage lender, but she works there, and she was like, "Hey, um, you and Jake are doing this in a hurry," which she doesn't support, but you're doing this in a hurry, and this place where we do our banking, they have these programs where it's set up for first-time home buyers who don't have any money to put down, and so you can get approved and not have to put any money down and blah 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 blah. So we pursued that option as well. And this mortgage lender, like the loan officer, was so rude. Like the other one that we were working with was really, really nice. I will say that. This one was so rude and fucking condescending. So one thing, like there were just some really weird fucking terms. We would have gotten like a good rate, decent rates in terms of like interest rates and just like our total monthly payment would have been doable, I think, if we had gotten approved. But then they also like it got to the point where they wanted me to put 20% down, which is like 100 something thousand dollars. So There were a couple of things that she required of me, and I was just like, "What are you talking about?" So she was just like like, one thing that she said was like, um, "Because you're self-employed, you need to show." Oh, well, first of all, when if you don't know about earnest deposits, which I didn't know about, when we accept when you accept when the seller accept your offer and you want to pursue that, you want to move forward with it, you put down a deposit to show in good faith you plan to move forward with this. If they're going to take that off the market, you're putting forward money to say like, hey, we're planning to do this, and then once the whole process is finished, they give you that money back. So we didn't have that money. We didn't have the money. So my mom, and we couldn't apply for loans or anything like that because when you're in the process of buying a house, you can't apply for other credit. So my mom applied for a loan. And by the way, these lenders don't care. They understand there are loopholes. They understand that so and so can get a loan and then send it to so and so who's got the seasoned funds, and then they can send you, and then they can send the deposit and prove that they've got seasoned funds. They don't care, which is so stupid because if they realize that there are loopholes and they're telling you that it doesn't matter how you do it, just do it, then like why have us like jump through hoops in the first place? So anyway, um, mom applies for the loan for us, and in the meantime, dad is like, "Hey, I'll help you. We'll help you guys. I'll help you like with whatever you need. Just go ahead and move forward with it. I've got some business deals that are coming through. Just hopefully the timing is right." So we put forward this $10,000 and just to say that we intend to move forward with this deal. And it just seems to get more and more complicated. Like it's the total monthly payment with this first lender seems to be kind of high. So then I look at the plus there's private mortgage insurance with that lender, which is something like 300, 400, or like $400 or $500 a month. Um, and then with our bank, we wouldn't have that. So that's why one reason that we were really looking at that is because then that would be like a big chunk off of our, total monthly. And that was where this bitch, she one of the things that she said, she just seemed like she was not getting a cut out of this or something like this and was not interested in approving us. Um, so at first, it was just under my name, and then we ended up putting it under both of our names. And she was like, "Well, since you're self-employed, I need you to show 6 months in what do they call it? 6 months. Oh, 6 months. What is the word? Reserves. 6 months in reserves, which means whatever the monthly payment is, we need you to show that you have that times six in just sitting in a bank account." I'm like, "Well, I don't have that." And she's like, "Well, you're self-employed, so this is what we need." And I was like, "Okay, but the self-employment income that I reported is not my like full-time job. I'm a W-2 employee, and so is my boyfriend, and we could have gotten approved on this loan without any self-employment income." And she was like, "Doesn't matter, you're self-employed." And I was like, "So you're telling me that I could have gotten just as approved and not had this condition of having to show this money if it weren't for the fact that I have this side job?" And bitch said, I'm not gonna tell you how much money I made last year because I don't even think we're allowed to talk about that. But bitch was like, I made a decent amount of money, a very decent amount of money on YouTube and sponsorships and Patreon and all that last year. And she said, "You made X amount of dollars from your side job." And I was like, "Excuse me." And she could see the year before that, like I made hardly anything. And I even she did it in quotations, and I was like, "Why did you put that in quotation marks? Is it because I made a decent amount of money? It doesn't matter, it's still my side job." And she was like, "Oh, I only said that because that's what you called it." My realtor and my dad were both like, "Wow, what a smart ass." Excuse me, hold on. Oh my gosh, Kate Ward. I just bought and talked to my agent who said he had a house where a guy was outbid by 700K. God. One of my best friends was buying a house, and she said on the house that they loved, they were outbid by 100K, and she was really sad about it. And I was like, "Good God, but 700? Damn." Excuse me for being a boss ass bitch and hustling. Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, I didn't need the YouTube money, like, obviously, like, I'm not making it anymore. So, obviously, we don't need it in order to make this payment. And so I was like, "What if I just, like, don't report that?" She's like, "It's too late. You've already reported it, and it's in your taxes." So I'm like, "Good God." So because I made any money, like, if I had just, like, been, like, a Rodan Fields, MLM distributor, I made $500 last year or whatever, same terms, to my understanding. Um, yeah, so basically, we kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and she was like, "Well, the only way that I can approve you is if you put down, this, like, $120,000 or something like that, 20%." And so I was like, "Ooh, hey, Dad, you said you'd help me out, with upfront costs. Is this even doable?" And he's like, go see what the other person says." The other person's like, "Well, we can do this if you put down 5%, just half of that." So it's still a hefty amount. And my dad still doesn't know whether or not, like, these transactions that he has coming in will go through in time. So we're just like biting our nails, and every day I'm checking both, like, the Zillow, like, for sale page, but also for rent page. And I just really wish that we had gone straight for a rental. I just really wish we had. Because not only were we waiting for these, like, business transactions to go through on my dad's end, but the actual process of getting us approved was taking longer than expected. And which was frustrating because Jake and I were so quick to provide whatever documentation they needed. And they even commented, they were like, "Thank you so much for providing this documentation so quickly." And even still, they were not able to get us fully approved in time. And I hate this whole, like, this rhetoric where they say that you're approved, but then there's still like 12 things that they need from you. And I'm like, so am I approved? What happens if I don't provide these things? Um, so, so, and I'm not working. I'm telling you what, if realtor, if you get me my earnest money back, if you expect me to work with you when we decide to buy again, when the market frees back up. Um, but the realtor that we were working with, I should out his name. Not that it'll go anywhere, but who knows? Um, where was I going with that? Yeah, he had me under the impression that you pay this earnest money, and you have this financial contingency window, which is like a certain period that you have to, like, back out of the deal, and you still get your earnest money back. And then he was like, "And then there are other ways of getting the earnest money back if we need to, like, if you get denied the loan or whatever." And so we were coming up on needing to move out of the apartment because we so in the meantime, all this is happening, they're selling our apartment. And for a while there, it was not moving, like, oddly enough, like, even though every other apartment, every other house was, like, moving within a week, 2, 3 weeks were going by, and nobody was buying this house or this apartment we were in. And so the realtor on our current apartment was like, "Hey, we have one more viewing, this weekend, and if nobody makes an offer by Monday, we're taking it off the market until you guys move out." And so that was going to free up a lot of the pressure for us. And then that Monday rolled around and they got an offer. So we had to be out by a certain date. And that date was coming up. And so um, they're still working on our loan, on getting the loan approved. And then we got added Jake to the application that changed the terms. And we were approved, but again, still had some conditions to be met. And so I was like, we got to the point where I was just like, okay, well, he said if like we just get denied the loan, then we can get that earnest deposit back. So I thought there was a fail safe there in place. And then it was getting up closer on time, and I remember them coaching me and being like, if you can't move, you can't move. You know, just like let your owners be upset. Like sometimes you buy a house and it comes with the tenant. Just take your time, whatever time you need to take. Just take your time. And so, like, I tried to do that. I'm not very forceful with people. I tried to be like, "Hey, listen, realtor, we can't move just yet. We're still in the process of getting this finalized, and it's not finalized, so we can't move just yet." And we were coming up on like we were like 4 days past the date we said we were gonna be out by, and coming up on like the day before, or like 2 days before they were, like, kicking us out, out, out. And so she was like, absolutely no way, no, we need you out. You've overstayed your lease. You're, in violation of your lease. I need you out, 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 out by, like 2 days from now at 5 p.m." And so we were like, "Oh my god, what do we do?" We'd already asked, we were like, when things were going slowly, we'd already asked, like, "Hey, do you think it's a potential," we're talking to our realtor, "Do you think there's, like, the potential that the owners would lease to us on a short term while we finish working out the paperwork and all of that?" And he was like, "Well, I can ask." And I was like, "Yes, please do that." Um, and, um, and then I waited around. And then it got closer to this time, and I found out, like, we gotta go, go, go. And I was like, "Hey, so and so, did you talk to the sellers? And did you ask if they would be willing to lease to us short term?" And they're like, "Well," he's like, "Well, we're still trying to figure things out. I'm still working on trying to see what we can do. But I mean, I can ask." And I'm like, "You mean you haven't asked?" I didn't say that. I was like, "Yes, please do." But like, bro, you haven't even asked. I told you to ask about this like 2 days ago. So it was a Monday, and we were to be out by Wednesday at 5 p.m. And so I remember telling him, "Hey, so and so, we are going to have to back out of this deal completely unless we are able to lease it, but to the with the sellers on a short-term basis while we sort this all out, because we know, because you people will tell you, like, put your stuff in storage, store your stuff elsewhere for a little bit, get an Airbnb, stay in a hotel. It's like, no, you don't understand how much stuff we have. We have, like I said, enough belongings to fill a 3-bedroom house, and not to mention we have 3 cats, 2 of whom cannot be near each other. Not possible. One of them is special needs. Like, not possible. Not possible. No. There is no staying somewhere. And like the whole process of actually moving once, like moving all your belongings out and moving to a storage unit even, is so costly. We didn't have the money for that. Like, we spent thousands of dollars just with moving like materials and then hiring help one day, thinking you always think that you just need help the first day, and then it'll be a few hours and get all your stuff over, and then you end up paying double that because those guys end up staying double the time, and then the next day you end up getting help the next day. And so that's what ended up happening with us, is that we ended up like spending so much money um just moving help. And so to think that we could turn around and not to mention, like, that'd be one thing if that's like if we just had movers do all the work for us. But this was such hell on mine and Jake's bodies, on our bodies. Like, I definitely cried at least twice. Jake was just like, I remember, like, he was like hobbling like an old man. Like, we were in so much pain because we were trying to move so fast. There was no way in hell, no way in hell that we were going to be able to turn around and do that again, like out of storage into whatever place. And so I told our realtor that. I was like, we do not have options in terms of storing our belongings and ourselves. temporarily. We do not have those options. So I am telling you now that unless we can rent with the sellers on a short-term basis, that we have to walk away from this. And also, if that's the case, can you please have talk to our loan officer about denying us the loan? And he was like, well, you haven't been denied the loan, you've been approved. And I was like, we've been approved, but we have all these like documentation, all this documentation we still need to send in. Like, what if I don't send it in? Do I get denied? And he's like, well, even if you do were to get denied, that doesn't mean you get the earnest deposit back. And I'm like, excuse me? I need to talk to him because he was then like we yeah, so we didn't hear back from him. And I was like waiting. Jake and I were like looking at different apartments and it was kind of bleak looking. And there were two houses on the market that were within our budget that were similar that I loved. One of them already had an applicant on it. She really liked us and she kind of hoped that her other applicant would fall through. But that very day, they ended up signing a lease, and she's like, "I'm so sorry. I would have loved it." She said to at least to you and your husband. Um, and then the other rental I really liked was this house. And in fact, inquired about this house like 3 weeks prior to all that because I liked it so much. Um, and I talked to somebody at the office, and I was like, "Hey, so I'm kind of like in a situation where I need to move fast, and I wanted to know, if it's possible to apply for this house." And they were like, "Well, it hasn't been cleaned, so we can't do that." And I was like, "Well, we can forego a cleaning. That's fine." And she was like, "No, it won't be ready for a few days." And so I was like, bummer. They sound like assholes anyway, whatever. So we're like looking at apartments. We're like this is like the day before we're supposed to be out. And we're like driving around. Then we drive all the way out into the boonies. And like even still we're looking at having to downsize and like live out in the middle of nowhere. And it's just like it was just so bleak, so bleak. And it was at 4 something like 4:30, 4:45. We talked I called this place back, like the property management company back, and I was like, "Hey," I was so hoping I'd hear from get the phone answered by somebody else, and it wasn't. It was the same person. I was like, "Hey, I talked to you earlier, um, about renting this place. Like, is there any way that we could sign a lease and move in tomorrow?" And she was like, well, she was honest with me. She was like, well, the thing is, I had to talk to the property manager, and we really don't like leasing to people in these situations, like when they're in like these dire situations, because that's a red flag to us. And I was like, oh, you think that we're being like evicted or something? And I was like, no, please let me explain to you our situation. We were in the process of buying a house. It's not working out. Because the other thing too was that even if it was going to work out, it was going to end up costing because of the insurance or the interest rates and all that were going up. And so where we thought that we were going to be spending like 2,700 a month on a mortgage, it was now becoming like 37, 3,800. So we're getting to the point where Jake and I are like, I don't know if we feel comfortable committing to this. And so, yeah, so we told her like we were gonna buy a house, but then that wasn't working out, and we need to be out of the place where we're living. Not for any problem on our end. We've been really great renters. We have spotless rental histories. They've sold the place. Um, so she was like, "Well, go ahead and take a look at it, and then go home, apply online." And we went home. We applied as fast as we could, and we finished everything at 4:59 that day. And so we were like, their office is now closed, which means that we won't know until tomorrow, the day that we're moving, whether or not we're going to be approved. So we had to go the next day, get a U-Haul, hire help, not knowing where we were going to go. Thankfully, they were able to approve us, get us a lease and all that, and blah, blah, blah. We ended up moving. We were supposed to be out by 5 o'clock that day. It was not working. The elevator was closing on us, or it's like locking up. And thankfully, I got our walkthrough pushed back to the next morning. So she gave us a little bit of an extension. Um, In the end, she was very happy with the apartment and the condition that I got it back in. So, like, the people that we were renting from are they love us. Um, but with this whole house process, I had to tell our realtor, like, "We're walking away from this now. We cannot buy this house now because we are renting, and we committed to a 2-year lease, okay? We're not buying a house now." And he's like, "Well, what if everything works out in time? What if everything works out? Could you know what you could do? You could Airbnb your apartment." And Jake and I are like, "No, we're not taking on a mortgage on top of this rent. No, we're not." And he's just like, what if a miracle happens? You're just gonna walk away from it." I'm like, "Yeah, we have to walk away from it." I mean, it makes me so mad because I told this man 2 days prior, if X doesn't happen or if A doesn't happen, B cannot happen. And it's just like it's starting to like make me angry when people hear one thing and that is of relative importance to them when it is of ultimate importance to you, and that like it's like through in one ear and out the other. It's almost like I feel like it's the attitude, and we've dealt with a couple of people with this kind of mindset, but it's almost like, just get people, just tell people what they want to hear, and like put off your obligations as long as you can, and just try to finesse your way through this stuff. That's the vibe I got because I told this man, if we cannot rent with the sellers as of tomorrow, we cannot buy the house. And then he's like, "Well, what about if a miracle happens?" Da, 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 da. And so that pissed me off. And then he called and he was like, "Look, legally, the sellers are entitled to your earnest money. But there have been cases in which we've been able to get it back. They just need to understand that you did everything you could on your end, that you really had every intention of buying your house, buying this house, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Thank you so much." Like, I thought, wow, thank you. What a real stand up guy, who's telling me he's going to do everything he can to help me get this deposit money back because how are we going to pay that? Like, and I was like, "That's great. That's awesome." And then the next day, just like, "Okay, so you're definitely walking away from, like, we are definitely walking away from this." And he's like, "Well, you're gonna have to walk away from the $10,000 then." I'm like, "But you said," but he's no longer saying that. So I'm still not over it. I'm still frustrated with this whole process because I'm still out $10,000 that I'm paying back to my mom. Um, Plus the cost of moving and all of that. It's just so, so, so frustrating. Um, and to think that like we weren't in a position to be buying anyway. Like even in, excuse me, even in an ideal market, um, we weren't in the best place. We didn't have the money saved up to pay for it. We didn't get our credit in line to be just in the best place possible. Well, we could probably be there by the end of the year in terms of getting our credit there, but we just weren't there yet. We didn't have the time. And then on top of that, we're in like the worst market possible. Like, what were we doing? We wanted to buy the apartment we were in. That's the only reason we ever considered buying. And I just feel like a fool that we got this far into this. And it was so stressful. It was so stressful. My thoughts got dark at that time. I was not feeling good. So, is renting better? Has anyone tried it? We do have people in the chat, I think, that have bought and rented. Um, I would say right now, just considering the market, I would say rent for a bit until the market stabilizes because, like that article was saying, interest rates are high too, and they'll continue to rise for the rest of the year. They're saying, so I think the market should stabilize. From what I've heard, like in the next couple of years. Um, so I think, yeah, because somebody said, yeah, Jake said something like one of his coworkers' relatives was looking to buy a house. Oh no, no, sorry, that was Logan. Logan knew somebody who was looking to buy a house in Savannah, and I was like, "Don't do it. Rent for a little bit, at least for the next couple of years, while the housing market kind of stabilizes." But I think that if you're in a position where you've got good credit, you've got all the documentation needed, you've got money set aside, at least for like closing costs and stuff like that, inspections and appraisals, stuff like that, then you might prefer homeownership. A lot of people, sing its praises for owning equity in your home. My realtor, he was, I kind of, now that I'm talking about him, I'm getting very like kind of sleazy car salesman type of vibes from him, because I told him like, he's like, how much rent have you been paying for how long? And I was like, well, I've definitely been paying like at least like $2,000 a month for 10 years or so. And he's like, you could have bought 4 houses by now, which is not true. I think he said you could have bought 2 houses by now, but not true. Certainly nothing like what we're looking to buy. Certainly not. Like we would have been able to put a dent in one of those houses, but for sure we would not have been able to buy. And we were living in DC at one point. So what are you saying, bro? So, hi Lynn. I hope you're feeling better. I am. Let's see how my heart rate's doing. I'm at 109. That's not the worst. I just get stressed out talking about this stuff, and I just like it's still not completely behind me. Like, and I maybe just need to let it go, but I still need to like one more time ask this realtor, hey, because like he was supposed to pass along these messages to the seller, like, hi, like I'm so sorry this didn't work out. I did everything that I could, and like to the realtor, that I did everything I could, everything, and we're heartbroken that it didn't work out. And I still have to hound him at least one more time to be like, hey, you were going to pass this message along. Did you? Can you please? But I mean, at this point, he doesn't get a commission. So what's the incentive to do so? Ah! Yeah, a good realtor is key. And the sad thing is that, like, I was going with a referral. So I thought that, word of mouth is everything. But really, the person who recommended it was like a recommendation of a friend of a friend or something like that. So 10K gone, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll ask one more time after this. So here we are renting again, which is it's really not bad. It's not bad because we don't have to set aside money if something goes wrong with the house. So that's in that regard, Kiara, to answer your question, I think it just depends on the person. We like knowing that like the house is taken care of because we have to pay the rent, but on top of that, we already have to pay like all the bills, which is very different for us because we've never bought or we've never lived in a house before. We've always rented apartments. So like paying for water, gas, sewer, trash, like all of that is just new. It's a lot. But at least we didn't have to settle. At least we didn't have to settle in terms of a rental, and we didn't have to pay out the wazoo for rent. Like it didn't cost nearly as much. Like what we're paying here is a few hundred more than what we were paying in the other apartment, or in the apartment we were in, plus accounting for like more bills. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, at least we know on a regular basis it's something that we can handle, and it's not something we're not overstretching ourselves by like $1,000 a month. So yeah, my recommendation is do not buy anytime soon. Do not start the process anytime soon. There may be somebody out there who's watching this either now or in the replay who needs to hear whether or not they should buy right now. And I say no. Should you sell right now if you're thinking about it? Yes. I mean, that's just good business sense. But like with interest rates as high as they are and prices as high as they are and demand as low as it is, you don't have any option. Like, no, don't try to buy right now. And that's that. I may end this stream a little bit early so that we can release the vlog a little early at 7 o'clock. What do we think about that? What do we think about me going ahead and setting that up for 7 o'clock? So I really don't have that much more to say about the stupid house buying process. Ugh, I hate it so much. I'm so mad that it happened. And it's so easy to get sucked into a trap when, you think you're only gonna buy if we can buy, this place, and then you end up getting roped into a million other things. So we'll be more savvy the next time around for sure, but I know we're probably so traumatized that we're not even gonna want to attempt this again. Okay, vlog is set for 7 o'clock. I wonder if anybody is getting notifications. Maybe you can let me know. By the way, I accidentally posted this video earlier today and somebody saw it. And I'm wondering if it's one of you. Somebody got to watch the vlog already. Anywho. I knew it. I knew it. Logan reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, did you post the video already?" And I was like, "No, well, I posted you can publish it to like schedule it. So like I scheduled it for 7:30 tonight, but then it creates the landing page, like the waiting room that when you set that up." And so it was like hours and hours ahead of time. Um and then what happened was I was like, "No, I don't want this set up just yet." So I unlisted it. And I didn't think anything of it until Logan said, "Hey, did you post the video?" And I realized, oh my gosh, the link is on Discord from where it automatically updates you guys. And so like the link is there. So it doesn't matter if it's unlisted, the patrons at least can view it. And so we saw there were 3 views, and I was like, "Well, I know I did." And Logan was like, "I know I did. There's a third person who saw it," and they gave it a thumbs up. And I was like, "You know who it is? It was Rosie. I had bet money." So Rosie maybe already saw it, but um, but I'm hoping the rest of you guys enjoy it. I'm gonna try my best to. I'm gonna reach out to this realtor one more time, and I'm gonna try my best to decompress, and then get ready for the live premiere of my first ever vlog. I will say, oh, thank you, Rosie. I will say this one was like I had fun with it, but the next one that's coming is like a lot artsier and so like prettier and stuff like that. And so I hope to create like more pretty vlogs. And we're going to be doing like more fashion related vlogs. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's what's coming. So I hope you guys go take a pee break, get a snack, grab some water, and then maybe head back over to the premiere. Hopefully you got notifications. I have no idea if notifications are going out because I'm not seeing them where I would normally see them, which is Discord. So if not, I'll tweet it out and do all that stuff. So sound good? Thank you guys for listening to me rant. I hope that this helped somebody. It's a lot of personal information, but oh well. Thank you, Octopi. All right, guys. I'm sorry to cut this short, but I just don't care to talk about my house buying, my house purchase experience anymore. It was just the worst. It was just the worst. But I'm more looking forward to getting a vlog to you guys. So I will see you over there, hopefully. If that sounds good to you. All right, guys. I'll see you in a bit. Love you. Breathe. I'm breathing. Thank you. Bye.